how do you help companies adapt their workplace culture to accommodate for better emotional intelligence?
So one of the things I'm keen to observe is who that team leader or team member thinks needs the training. So sometimes the director of human resources or the CEO or the chief operations manager reaches out and says, listen, I'm having a challenge with my team. They are not emotionally intelligent. That tells me that the individual believes that they already are, right? So I have the intelligence and my team does not have it. Versus a different use of language, which is, I'm having a challenge in my team and I think we could all do with some so and so because our and us, that also tells me where that team leader thinks they are and the help that they need to support their team. Mm-hmm. So to answer the question more directly, in terms of changing workplace culture, it starts at the top. Mm-hmm. And if the leadership of the team is not prepared to handle their own emotional challenges with regulating themselves, demonstrating each day how we take on this question of self-awareness, what we do with hard emotions, how we talk to each other as we're trying to process and regulate ourselves. How do we show up with empathy while still getting the work done productively, because we can't hug our way through the day, right? But how do we deal with that and still get the work done? How do I respond when I'm disappointed? What language do I use when I'm engaged in conflict? The leadership of the team has to demonstrate that. The second step would be establishing principles on how we're handling emotionally charged and challenging situations. You're going through a company restructuring. You're losing a critical member of the team. We're going to be doing some downsizing, or we're going to let some people go. Those are emotionally charged situations. What are the principles around how we deal with these things? So some of those principles practically could mean we, as a company, we don't send dismissal emails. We don't send dismissal emails. We call a meeting with the individual who is being dismissed. We have a standard of giving them at least 3 months notice, because we know it's hard to find jobs and people have obligations. We sit with them and we go over practically the value of the work that they have given the company so far, and indicate in honest language why we have to let them go. It's not that they are bad employees or their function is no longer necessary. We're really just not making a profit, right? No, it's easier to say we're going to have to let you go because you're not contributing at the level and the standard, and make the person feel bad. Right. So you don't have to tell the truth, right, that my mandate has shifted. We're entering some new markets and we need to find a way to stop spending in this line item. Mm-hmm. And we've done the assessment. We don't want to let anybody go, but I don't have an option to not let anybody go. Mm-hmm. And so these are the reasons why we have to dismiss you from this post. Right. And just, I think sometimes too, how we display respect in some of those situations. You can fire somebody and they walk out of the room smiling, shaking your hand, thanking you, being understanding, going out there to be an advocate, to help others deal with being dismissed. So if we have principles on how we do things, it doesn't start to feel personal. So nobody gets to say, when they were firing Krystal, they gave Krystal 3 months notice. But when they were firing Stacey, they told her with 1 week's notice and reminded her that that's what the contract agreed to, 1 week's dismissal notice. So Stacey doesn't get to say it's a personal attack on me. Stacey doesn't get to say they don't like me. Because the company has a culture and a way with which we do things. Mm-hmm. So if a company at the head has a set of leaders who understand the importance of emotions and creates a space where it is safe for us to express what we truly feel, enable people to have the language to express that respectfully, link them in if necessary to the tools that they can use to do that self-regulation and management, and then undergird that with a sense of principle. So it's not me think so and I believe that and this happens because it's you. It's just the principles for how we make decisions. It's the principles for how we deal with conflict. It's principles around how we give feedback. It's principles about our pay cycle. We always pay people before the week of the 25th. When we are giving feedback, we give feedback. We give feedback in closed doors. But when we're giving commendations, we do that loudly with balloons and noise and music. We just have a standard at which we operate that creates safety, a sense of reliability, so I can trust this company to treat with things in this way. I don't have to sit down with the 35 thoughts and wonder if I am next, what's going to happen to me? Because no. company has principles around how they deal with these things. So those are two ways to begin to rewire the company culture. And then, of course, constantly checking in to ensure that teams are honoring these processes, and where people feel a sense of injustice, a sense of unfairness, they can also feel safe in saying, I know we say that this is a principle. I know we say that this is how we do business. But I noticed that a customer email came in, and it was 3 weeks before that customer got a response. And I think if we don't do something now, it compromises the high standards we have for customer service. And the customer service manager doesn't go, so why them tell you that? Why them never come tell me that? No, customer service manager knows that this is the process. This is the principle. I'm supposed to share the feedback in this way. Right. So it's not that I'm hiding something from you, but I'm just following a process. Right. So it feels safer, cleaner, and enables truth telling. There's a lot of truth telling missing from corporate spaces, but that's because we also doubt other people's ability to manage emotions. So I think if I tell you the truth, you're going to be hurt, and you don't know how to handle hurt well, so you won't like me. I've just made a judgment about your emotional capacity. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to tell you a lie.
So true.
So you can build trust. And two more ways that we can look to infuse emotional intelligence as part of the company culture is to invest in company-wide training. So after we have trained our senior leaders or middle managers, ensure that it filters down, because as I said in the beginning, nowhere in their lives are persons getting this level of training before coming into the workspace. So if we want them to truly understand and accept it, we have to train our team members when they come in. And then looking specifically now at new hires, when you're hiring new people to come into your team, test for emotional intelligence, because people can have it without knowing they have it. And I find that this is one of the ways where teams are getting better at recruiting, because the questions they're asking you around assessing your ability to manage conflict, to respond in an agile way to difficult circumstances, to chart a path through in terms of resilience, bouncing back. The questions that are being asked in these interviews are leaning more to those kinds of assessments. So wanting to see if somebody has that kind of personal or social intelligence to make good decisions in difficult, highly charged situations. Right. So those four things I think can create a true culture. The senior managers understanding, accepting, and putting those things into practice, building out principles for the organization that everybody has to be bound by, investing the time, the money, because budget is needed for company-wide training so it can truly become culture. And then when others are coming into your well-curated culture of emotional intelligence, you ensure that you're picking the right people.